But what I want to start off with, what is, am I stretched open? That's not just skating. So last night I was watching some Steve Jobs videos. I don't know if you guys know, today in 1984, on this date in 1984 I should say, the Macintosh was first revealed. And as you saw on the slide, I'm the editor-in-chief of the unofficial Apple weblog, so I happen to follow Apple and particularly the legacy of Steve Jobs quite a bit. And he's one of the more highly regarded entrepreneurs out there in the world. And I found something interesting. It was one of the last times that he actually addressed a crowd as CEO of Apple. And he was talking about what made the iPad so great. And he said that it's in Apple's DNA that technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with the liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields us the results that make our hearts sing. And I'm a firm believer in that. I've seen it through my entire life to be true. And so what I'm proposing is really a weaving together of a lot of the things that you guys are talking about here today. I think that mixed use space is just harkens back to the old town square where you had a lot of businesses that were supplemental to each other. I don't know that this is necessarily a new thing, but I do think that we can actually go bigger in Knoxville. And I like what the Create Here folks were talking about in Chattanooga. They have on their website a stated belief that they believe that placemaking and connectivity are the source of innovation. And as somebody who follows a technology company, I'm very, very interested in innovation. So as Alex mentioned, there's the hub. There's also case studies like the Brooklyn Artist Gym, the entire makerspace movement. In fact, if you see this right here in the very top left corner, that is a makerspace. It's basically a tiny fabrication plant within the Detroit Public Library. That's in the library stacks right there, surrounded by books. And there's a lot of other case studies that I could cite that mix the liberal arts and technology. Flying Monkey Arts in Huntsville. There is a Parisian geek bar that's shown on here. There are kitchen co-working spaces. There's a lot of background. You guys have already heard a lot about this already. What I want to talk about is how we create space where amazing things happen. And it's changing the culture from consumer to creator. And what I'm really proposing is a mall of creation as opposed to a mall of consumption. Incidentally, the large image right here is the Form 1 3D printer. You guys are talking about Kickstarter and Indiegogo and whatnot. This is actually the highest funding that any project has gotten on Kickstarter. They asked for $100,000. They got nearly $3 million. There seems to be some sort of demand for creating things in this world. And what I'm proposing, you can't see the top of it, it says day and night. Like I said, it's a mall. It's a series of connected businesses that share a common goal and aren't just open during the day or aren't just open during the night. A lot of this is just a design problem. When you design a space, you think, well, this is a restaurant, or this is a coffee shop, or this is an office, and that's all it does. But what if that thing had a dual purpose? Again, that's a design problem. And we've been really, really good as human beings at coming up with solutions to design problems. For this to be the mother of all incubators, we have to stock the place with the right ingredients to make this recipe a success. So there are a lot of moving parts in here, and there's even more that's not shown. If you want to know specifically which businesses I'm referring to and the structure and some more case studies, feel free to follow up with me after the presentation because I don't want to take 20 minutes. I will say this, however, that I kind of teased this on my personal site, and I've had people interested from Portland, LA, San Francisco, New York, Raleigh, Chattanooga, all over the country and all over the world that have said, I want a mall of creation in my town. Okay, small towns and big towns. And one of the great things about this is that it scales up and down, and it's replicatable, just like the hub in Atlanta. It's something that we can actually say, oh, well, we make this model here, we can take it to Asheville, we can take it to Raleigh, we can take it all across the country. And lastly, I kind of go back to that Jobs quote about this intersection of technology and the liberal arts. And we are just now at a point, I feel, in our technology advancement where we can actually make these things a reality. We can actually connect dots in a way that we could not before. There's a lot of talk in Silicon Valley right now about big data. And what that means is every time you click on something, Facebook is watching what you do, right? And it sounds scary, and it sounds weird, but the actual practical result is that you end up with a better experience overall. Like I said, there's a lot behind the scenes here that I haven't talked about. Community outreach, education programs, membership, the nuts and bolts of things. But I will say this, that what I'm presenting is that combination of technologists and folks in the humanities. When you put those people together, amazing things happen. In fact, Apple and Google and many of the best Silicon Valley companies engineer that specifically in their spaces and in what they do to try to bring those disparate groups together to cross-pollinate and create new things. So what I'm actually proposing in terms of next 3 steps is this. The formation of a cooperative marketing and management group that would coordinate the businesses and space that would be needed for this. There has to be a gatekeeper. It's sort of like the App Store, okay? You can't just have a bunch of crud in there because then people will go, well, that's where you go and just buy junk, right? Okay, so there has to be a gatekeeper. There also has to be a coordination of effort and marketing and resources. If we're talking about putting in a makerspace, that has to be scheduled, that has to be understood by all the tenants that are there. Second, I'm looking for entrepreneurs who are willing to put some money behind some of the businesses that I'm talking about. And then third, space. And one of the great things about Knoxville right now is that even though a lot of these spaces aren't being utilized right now, there still are spaces here, like 1 block that way. And just a few blocks up that way, there are a bunch of spaces, and I walk by and I see, why is this empty? Why is this not being utilized? So there's a lot that we can do. And one thing that sort of hits close to home, I think, is think about this. There's something transformational in prototyping something. All right, let's say you're obviously space-lit cars, you're trying to invent a better car. You have to wait a week for a prototype to come back, make a small iteration, wait another week for that to come back. Your cycle of progress is going to be somewhat slow compared to someone who has the thing I just showed you at the beginning there, a 3D modeling device that can turn something around in an hour. So to that end, I actually want to show you guys something. This is the Node, which I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the Node is made by a company in Chattanooga. And they actually went from Kickstarter project to shipping the product in less than a year, right? And what's amazing about this is that it took a team of engineers and designers a year to go from the design to the actual shipping product. That's the future. I mean, this is representative of the future of body tracking and the sensing around us and whatnot, which I think is kind of the next wave of consumer electronics. But besides that, what actually happened behind the scenes here is something that Knoxville can play a significant role in the future of, and that is creating new things, invention and innovation. So